Yeah, so I got myself another Gerber multi-tool. Do you like Gerber multi-tools? Some do. Others really steer clear from them. I think it's all in the slide opening mechanism that you either love or you don't love. It's got a sort of sacrificial thing where you need to take up a lot of space to have those cool sliding pliers. This is the Gerber center drive. The Gerber center drive is priding itself on having a centric driven screwdriver that has a long reach. See it there? Much longer than the average, and it works from sort of center mass of torque. That's the knife as well, which they again pride being longer than most other multi-tool knives, and it is fairly large, to be honest. This tool is the first of the Gerber multis that have really sort of instantly resonated with me. Not everything on it's perfect, not at all. However, when I sort of get everything in hand and when I actually take it out and use it, which I have spent the day doing, I'm actually pretty happy with it. These are the inside of the handle sort of ancillary tools. No real winners there, I must admit, and that is the little second screwdriver keeper of the the main sort of screwdriver feature. Keeps a second generic universal kind of screwdriver bit. So yeah, they're all locking at least, but they're all just a little bit forgettable. I'll get into them later. So this knife multi-tool costs you about $150, and you can get it at Bunnings. It comes in a blister pack with a sheath. That's the sheath there mounted scout style, which is kind of how I prefer to carry it. Just sort of sits pretty neatly on the side of your belt. It's got a sort of front pocket as well that you can keep your bit kits in and carry it upside down or left or right or vertical or horizontally or whatever. All sorts of options. Yeah, so it's a sliding, clicking pliers type multi-tool, which you're going to either like the knack of or you're going to dislike the knack of. Generally, I'm a butterfly kind of multi-tool guy myself, although when these are done right, they're generally not too bothered at all. They don't bother me at all, rather. That's my ZT0560 next to it, just for a bit of size comparison, really. This is kind of like that mid-sized multi-tool range, about the same size as a Leatherman rebar, perhaps a little bigger, but nowhere near still the Leatherman Super Tool, for example. The two main outside tools are the screwdriver there, which is locking, as you can see the lock bar being depressed. And it's got a sort of a weird little fit to it. It kind of has to hump itself over onto the frame there. And then on the other side, again, another locking tool is the knife. It has a one-hand opening type thumb, a pretty steep saber grind. It's pretty fat behind the edge, but pretty decent as a all-round utility knife, which I'll show you later. These are the ancillary tools. So they're all on this locking sprung section here. Open one at a time for the lock to engage. If you open them all at once, the lock does not. So you get a file, a cat's paw driver, an awl, and a serrated blade. Those are the pliers and the wire cutters, and this is how the pliers work. There's a sliding mechanism along the side there. You can flick them open, but if you're not getting it, which does take a while to get and for the tool to loosen up, by all means slide away. To press and slide. No, Cedric is not a fan. No thank you. So I used this tool today to do a bit of amateur electrical work, sort of. I had to remove some really crappy stripped, what are they called? Spark plugs or whatever they are from the fluoro lights. These are absolutely thrashed, so I had to tear them out, and they broke as I was tearing them out. It was quite a frustrating job, actually. So this tool did really well. It grabbed and twisted and pried and poked all it needed to. This is me using the wire cutters. The wire cutters are pretty elementary, really. I think we all end up using the hard wire cutters for everything, but this is me using just the regular wire cutters to cut some wire. Afterwards, they were completely unscathed. I've seen videos, though, where people have cut nails and they have broken, so just be mindful not to overuse them, perhaps. These are hollow pliers because they have springs inside them, so I guess be wary. Against the wire, not so good. I would suggest using the other tool, which is kind of also the star of the show, and that's the knife. It's a really decent knife blade. And it's a robust knife blade, as you can see here. It's got that sort of 3 and a bit inches of length to it, and use it for all sorts of things. this is a kind of great tool if you're out using your power tools, because when I'm using my power tools, I always find there are things coming loose, things that need adjusting, things that need little touch-ups, and multi-tools are great for that. Just having it on your hip around when you're doing yard work. This is that knife making much shorter work of that cable than the pliers did. Really good knife, comes with a pretty decent factory grind as well, and as of course it always is, it is a locking tool as well. There is the lock bar. What else have we got on here? We've got a serrated knife, not so good, I'll show you later. The cat's paw kind of pry is really thick and overbuilt, probably pretty good for getting a paint can off. The awl will poke holes, and the file will sit there being a file. That's the plastic locking lever, which is controlling those tools I was speaking about before. Always bothered me, the plastic in these, but it seems fine, and everyone else has nothing but good stories about them, so there you go. That's a close-up of the cat's paw. As I said, pretty strong. That's a close-up of the file, which I'll probably never use. This is again the locking system and the file, just showing both grits on each side of the file. So you've got the bastard style and you've got the mill style, wood or metal some say. This is a serrated blade. Serrated blade is easily the weakest of all the tools. It's got two things going against it. First is that it's interior opening, so you have this big space underneath it, as you can see. So it's hard unless you've got a drop away surface to be able to cut with. And even when you do start cutting with it, it's not particularly good. You'll find that it's much easier just to use your plain edge knife as long as you keep it sharp. I think they've just overly coated it and it's no good. The awl, good for scratching your lover's name into a tree, poking holes in belts, just making a little stabby mess of pretty much whatever you stick it into. It is just a little sharp piece of metal. Some size comparisons, the Leatherman rebar is there. That's them open, that's them next to each other. It's a little bit thicker and chunkier than the rebar. That's them closed. It's a little bit taller than the rebar due to the locking pliers. That is on a British short-haired cat, quite obese. Again on a British short-haired cat, quite obese. And as you guessed, once again on a British short-haired cat, quite obese. This is a pretty decent multi-tool. To be honest, I've actually used it in pretty much... I've used everything but the cat's paw pry, and I've used the... what else have I missed out on? Oh, the awl I used just for rudimentary video making purposes, but everything else on it does work really good. It's good that you can put any drivers on the bit extender, so you can effectively get really long and odd and unusual shapes and things of drivers on that arm, which is really, really cool feature, and I really do like that. They've gone here for really kind of the tools you always use. That's where they put the effort. So good pliers, good knife, good driver. All the other stuff, kind of forgettable, but really it's not too bad a deal when you compare really what you get on most multi-tools. It's always a bit of a compromise. Some people say it needs scissors. Myself, I never use more multi-tool scissors. With me it really is just the pliers, the driver, the knife sometimes. Maybe some of the weird tools like the package opener or something. But really a good set of drivers in your pocket or in a sheath, or at least a couple of basic ones you can carry with you all the time. That's half the battle one for me, and the rest is just a kind of fidget factor, which this has in spades, and just in generally being a good set of pliers that you can use at a whim really, because it's sitting around the house, perhaps build some IKEA furniture or whatnot. The Gerber Center Drive, it's a positive review for it. I do rather like it. It does more for me than sort of other Gerbers have done in the past. Do I like it more than, say, the rebar? Probably not. The rebar's just got this simplicity that's probably part of the familiarity, really, more than anything. But, and, you know, I've got my Leatherman Surge at work, which is still kind of a class up in terms of weight and capability than this one, even though the driver is shorter. At any rate, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one. Thank you for watching, dudes. Bye now.